You ever just tap your phone to pay for a coffee? Or, shoot some money to a friend and just kind of expect it to work? We all do it, billions of times, every single day. But have you ever stopped to think what's really happening behind that super simple tap? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the massive, and I mean massive, complex system that makes sure our money is actually safe.
So, this quote, it's about a guy named Samir. And Samir, well, he's just like us, right? He loved how easy mobile banking was. But then, one day, he actually walked into a physical bank branch, and it hit him. He suddenly got this feeling that, wow, this whole banking thing is way, way more complex than he ever thought. Behind every one of our easy, seamless little taps, there's this incredibly complicated web of operations.
And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? I mean, with billions of transactions happening every day, with all this money flying around the globe, through all this complicated tech, how do we actually know our money is safe? How can you be sure that the money you worked hard for is secure in your account?
Well, the answer, thankfully, is something called a bank audit. It's this mandatory, super rigorous process. The best way to think about it? It's like the bank's most important annual health checkup, and it's designed to protect every single one of us.
So yeah, this checkup is the bank audit. What that means is an independent team comes in to examine pretty much everything. The bank's financial statements, its internal controls, you name it. Their job is to make sure all the numbers are accurate, that the systems are reliable, and that everyone is playing by the rules. It really is the ultimate financial health screening for a bank. But here's the thing. Auditing a bank is a whole different ballgame. We're not talking about auditing some local shop. The sheer scale is just mind-boggling. You've got huge volumes of transactions, a massive geographical spread of branches, and all of it is running on incredibly complex technology. And with all that complexity, you've got strict regulators like the RBI watching every single move. So yeah, the stakes are incredibly high. So what's the auditor's goal in all this? What are they trying to do? Well, their job is to provide what's called reasonable assurance. Now, that's a really important term. It doesn't mean absolute certainty, but it means they've dug deep enough to say, with confidence, that the bank's financial statements present a true and fair view of what's going on. In other words, is what the bank is reporting actually the real story? Okay, so to get that true and fair view, where do the auditors even begin? Well, you start where the biggest risks are. And for any bank, the single biggest area of focus, both for making money and for losing it, is the money it lends out. In the world of banking, these are called advances. And these advances, well, they are the single largest item on the asset side of a bank's balance sheet. It makes sense, right? A bank's main job is to lend money. That's how it makes its income. So if you really want to know if a bank is healthy, you absolutely have to look at its loans. So what exactly are advances? It's really just a fancy word for all the money a bank lends to its customers. We're talking about the whole range, from a personal car loan to a big housing loan, all the way up to a massive corporate credit line for a giant company. And it gets a little more detailed. Auditors split these advances into two main buckets. First, you have funded loans. This is what you and I usually think of as a loan. Actual cash goes from the bank to the borrower. Simple enough. But then you have non-funded facilities. These are different. There's no immediate cash transfer. Instead, it's more like a promise from the bank to pay on the borrower's behalf if something goes wrong. Think of things like letters of credit or bank guarantees. And believe me, both types carry a lot of risk. And that risk, well, it becomes very, very real when those loans start to go sour, when people stop paying them back. Auditors have a special name for this, and it is probably the biggest, brightest red flag they look for in any audit. They call it a non-performing asset, or NPA for short, and the definition is crystal clear. An advance becomes an NPA the moment the interest or the principal payment has been overdue for more than 90 days. That's the magic number. In simple terms, it's a loan that has stopped doing its job. It's not generating any income for the bank anymore. And that is a big problem. Now, a loan doesn't just become a total loss overnight. It goes on a bit of a journey, a downward spiral, really. First, once it's an NPA for up to a year, it's labeled substandard. If it stays in that category for another 12 months, it gets downgraded again to doubtful. And the final step, when the auditor or the bank decides, you know what, we're probably never getting this money back, it's classified as a loss. At each step of the way, the bank has to put aside more and more cash just to cover that bad loan. Okay, now listen closely because this next part is absolutely crucial, and it's a rule that surprises a lot of people. The asset classification, it's done borrower-wise, not facility-wise. What does that mean? It means they don't just look at the one bad loan, they look at the person.
And the implications of this are huge. Let me give you a perfect example. Let's say we have Mr. Rahman. He has a car loan and a housing loan with the same bank. Now, he's paying his housing loan on time, every single month, no problem. But he defaults on his car loan. It's overdue for more than 90 days. So what happens? Well, because of that borrower-wise rule, even though his housing loan payments are perfect, both his loans, the car loan and the housing loan, are now classified as NPAs. The entire relationship is tainted by that one default.
So, after all this painstaking work, combing through all the advances, identifying all the NPAs, checking every corner of the bank's finances, it's finally time for the auditor to deliver their final verdict. And that verdict comes in the form of a final, official audit report. Honestly, the best way to think of it is as the bank's report card for the entire year. And it's not some secret document. It's public. It tells everyone, regulators, investors, you and me, what's really going on with the bank's health.
This report is really the whole point of the audit. It's all about accountability, and it has to answer some really big questions, like, do these financial statements actually give a true and fair view? Was the bank playing by the rules and staying within its legal powers? Were they able to get all the information they needed from all the branches? And maybe the most important one of all, is there anything here that needs to be brought to the government's attention? The answers to these questions can literally decide a bank's fate.
So hopefully, the next time you tap your phone to pay for something, you'll have a bit more confidence knowing that this whole intense audit process is happening in the background. But it does leave us with one last thought, doesn't it? An audit is really just a snapshot in time. It's looking backwards at the year that just ended. So what really makes a banking system truly resilient for the future? What does it take to make sure our system isn't just safe today, but can handle whatever challenges are coming tomorrow?